citizens of the Internet and of the world. We are anonymous. This is a personal message from 9/11/01 Anon. This video is meant to express on a more human level about how some if not all of us feel about the world we live in and our hopes for the future. Please listen and hopefully some of 9/11/01 Anon's feelings and thoughts will resonate with you. It is uncensored, unedited, unrehearsed, and real. And now, 9/11/01 Anon.
Citizens of the world and of the Internet, we are anonymous. The occupations all throughout the United States of America and all around the world are continuing to grow on a daily basis, and we ask that these movements continue to grow. People are getting fed up and tired of being told what to do, what to eat, what to drink, who to criticize, who not to criticize. People are tired of losing their homes, losing their jobs, not even being able to get a job in the first place. In-work slavery, in other words, going to work for 50 hours at a time, not being able to see your family or your children or whoever it is that you may see after work. And people actually become their job. They become robots. They become slaves to the cause. Your boss is not God. He is no deity. He or she simply is a human being, and at the end of the day, they have to flush the toilet like the rest of us do. Bosses are not gods. They are people. Enough of this behavior with your job being more important than your own children and your wife or your husbands or whatever your sexual preference may be. It must stop. For those who are unable to get employment, unfortunately, it's not fair to those people. Our hearts and sympathy go out to anybody who's homeless, to people who have fought in foreign wars and come back to find that society has discarded them, to first responders of the World Trade Center who can't get basic health care. These are people we care greatly for. To young people who can't afford a college tuition, who are working 60 hours for only $7 an hour, which is not fair, being barked at by some stupid guy in a nice, clean, white shirt. These behaviors are intolerable anymore. People are getting fired for having political opinions, like Hank Williams Jr. recently. His employment was terminated because he made some comment about Hitler. People are entitled to say and think what they feel. Who are these bosses to think that no one can have an opinion? Because I'm sure the bosses out there say all they want about who they want and don't answer to anybody. But then meanwhile, we have to answer to people? That's wrong. My friends, there's so much to discuss and so many terrible things going on throughout this world. Many of you who have been negatively criticizing many of the videos in which this Anon has been releasing, I want to make one thing clear. Whether you like the opinions or not at which this Anon expresses is your right. You have that right to your opinion. But realize that many people have, in our past, here in the United States, have had to die to make sure you have the right to even express a negative opinion. Remember our soldiers and freedom fighters throughout our history, World War I, World War II, the Civil War, the Vietnam War, recently in Afghanistan. Our soldiers died to defend that right. And many of you don't seem to realize that. The reason why I've released this video is because of a lack of appreciation for the right to free speech. Many of you walk around with your text messaging gizmos crashing and colliding into each other, yelling and fighting at one another, not paying attention to the world around you. Many of you shop selfishly for overexpensive clothing and eat horrendously expensive food and criticize the protesters. I warn you, you must realize why you were able to shop and go to fancy dinners and have those text messaging gizmos. Soldiers had to die for you to have the ability to have the freedoms to commit in these acts of text messaging and eating fancy food and buying fancy clothes. Remember that. Show some appreciation. My friends, the man behind the mask which is speaking to you now, says this as a kindred intellect. The man behind the mask is a 9/11 World Trade Center first responder. And I also feel that people simply do not appreciate the beauties of this world. Some of them only care about their job. Some of them only care about their clothing. They hopelessly compete with one another. They compete over who's got the best shoes, who has the most cars, who's got the most toys. Instead of staring up at that beautiful blue sky and saying, man, am I grateful to be alive. Look at this wonderful planet we live on. People simply, they just do not do that. My hope for these occupations goes beyond political agendas. This Anon's hope, after these brave people who sleep outside and protest non-stop, that our very natures change, that human nature changes, and we stop belittling each other because of the size, shape, language, or color of our skin. As far as this Anon is concerned with the illegal immigrants, there's a reason why illegal immigrants take so many risks to cross the border, because they have been so oppressed by their leaders. They have no other option but to come and literally beg for aid, and will travel for 5 or 6 days at a time across a hot desert with babies in their hands, just to have a small taste of what we take for granted. Many of you really don't seem to realize what this protest truly means. It's more than just political agendas. It's about human nature. So my hope is that our nature, our way of thinking, the way we view each other, I hope changes for the best. That's why many of us are out there risking ourselves, staying outside, sleeping on the street, making videos like this on the internet, using our abilities on a computer to get that message across. Sometimes through unfortunate means, having to force it on some people, which we should not do as Anons. But those who have oppressed our right to speak up, unfortunately, must be dealt with. My friends, this is a very sad moment for myself, because as much as I have hope that these rallies and protests will mark some sort of momentous occasion in our human history, even my hopes wane. This is why I hope that these occupations grow and grow and grow, and they keep moving non-stop. I hope that the arrogant that are out there who have not taken the time to see these protesters, how they operate, feeding each other, clothing each other, providing warmth in the cold, essentially taking care of each other without really depending on anyone. Most of the things that these protesters have are all donated. But they find ways to take care of one another. Why can't the rest of us do that? My friends, before this video becomes too long, the whole point of this video is my greatest hope is that it just goes beyond political stances, beyond political messages, that the fabric of who we are as human beings changes. And I hope it changes for the better. Most Anons also express this, that our very souls, our natures must change. I hope for a day that there will not be an anonymous, that we will not have to threaten to attack at people's websites. I wish there was a better way. I wish there were no wars. I wish there were no greedy people out there. But until our natures change, you have to understand where there is a bit of cynicism with the man behind the mask. For the sake of not just myself, but for yourselves too, please change your ways. Change your nature. Change the very nature. Just take a look around you. And just for 5 minutes, appreciate why things are. Appreciate the planet. We keep destroying this planet with pollution. We keep killing each other, and we keep killing our future. We continue to end our species. We can actually improve ourselves. You have to forgive me, I'm becoming lost for words because this is an emotional moment for myself. I just wanted people to know that the man behind this mask and producing these videos is not a robot. But for the sake of getting into trouble, of course, because I am asking questions of the system, like many of you, I will probably get into trouble as well. So, unfortunately, the mask must be worn. One day I hope I can speak to you without this mask on. As a human being, not as a black man, not as a white man, not as a fat man, or a skinny man, or a Mexican, or a Colombian, or an Italian. As a human. Please, friends, make these protests matter, if not for our sakes, but for the sake of our future, and our children's children, and for the sake of our continued existence. Thank you, my friends, and take care, and good luck.